The next thing I remember after the transplant surgery was waking up in the ICU. I remember hearing this voice. The nurse was saying, Rudie, 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 you have a new liver. And I felt like I was floating somewhere far away, almost like I was in space. And it felt like Earth was calling to me, telling me to come back. I mean, it was really trippy. And slowly I started becoming aware of where I was. And I realized I was in the hospital. I realized the surgery had happened. And I realized I was alive. I was like, ooh, it worked. When I woke up, I tried to talk, but I couldn't. I still had the breathing tube in my throat, so I couldn't speak at all. And that kind of confused me. And they explained it to me. And then they called a doctor in to remove the breathing tube. And the first person I spoke to was my wife. Um, and I felt incredibly weak. Between the surgery itself, the anesthesia, and the pain medication, my body and mind were in a very strange state. And that's when something really bizarre started happening. I began having auditory and visual hallucinations. It's called ICU delirium. I didn't know that at the time, though. At the time, everything felt completely real. The hallucinations were really subtle. Uh, it was just believable enough that I thought everything that I was seeing and hearing was actually happening. I remember hearing voices coming through the intercom speaker in my room. Um, they weren't talking to me. It sounded like they were talking to the nurses, calling them about things happening somewhere in the hospital. But they sounded serious and urgent. Um, and then late that first night, I thought I saw nurses gathering in the hallway, and I thought they were mourning the death of a patient. And I could hear them talking about it, even though it was behind closed doors. And I remember lying there thinking, somebody just died. Then later, I thought I saw it happen again. And I texted my wife and I said, yeah, two people died here last night. And she asked the nurses about it. And the nurse said, no, that didn't happen. And none of it happened. It was all in my head. And it was kind of scary. And at one point, I thought I was having a heart attack. I thought my heart was speeding up. And I have pictures in my phone of selfies of me looking really sunken eyes and the monitors behind me so I could see the heart rate. And just the other night, I saw that picture and the heart rate was normal. It was like 95. But I had seen 135 again on those heart rates. So, and I had strange sensations in my chest, and I was convinced something was wrong. But again, nothing was actually happening, and my mind just confused from everything my body had been through. You know, the major surgery, the anesthesia. Eventually, after about a day and a half in the ICU, they moved me to the transplant recovery floor. And that's when something interesting happened. I heard the same two voices in the intercom. And then that suddenly made me realize, oh, those aren't real. And it was at that moment my brain started clearing and the hallucinations stopped. Um, and my mind started coming back to normal. But physically, recovery was just the beginning. The most painful part of early recovery wasn't actually the surgical incision, it was the gas pains. Um, After major abdominal surgery, like a liver transplant, gas builds up in your system and the pressure is incredibly painful. Uh, that, that was easily the worst physical pain I had during recovery. Another thing that surprised me was how quickly they made me start moving. on the first day in the ICU, they make you stand up and then sit in a chair. And they make you do that twice a day, and it was extremely painful. My feet were also really swollen, and my body was weak, and it was just everything about that part was difficult. But they push you to move anyway because movement helps your body recover. Um, Another strange thing about that early days was the transplant and bilirubin. Bilirubin is what makes you have jaundice. So when you have liver failure, bilirubin builds up in your body and causes the yellow color in your skin and eyes. And so, I went into transplant yellow, and then right after transplant, the bilirubin disappears almost immediately. And I remember looking much less yellow right away. My wife was like, "Hey, you're pink again." But something strange happens, and it's fairly common. Over the next few days, the bilirubin actually starts to rise again before your liver starts uh, making it, getting rid of it out of your body for good. So I went from yellow to normal, and then back to yellow again. And it kind of messes with your mind, and you feel discouraged. But then after about day 4, my bilirubin levels started decreasing, and things started looking great. Day by day, my body got stronger. And 7 days after the transplant, I was discharged from the hospital. Just 7 days. After one of the most complex surgeries in medicine, 7 days, that's incredible. And 2 months later, I was back at work in person. And I think that actually made me stronger having to go back to work. And since then, uh, my life has been very different. I've been taking full advantage. Um, I started volunteering in my community. I now help run a youth football team. I ran for political office. I got a career promotion, and life has been good, and I'm raising my family. Um, but every morning when I wake up, I remember something very important. Someone else's life ended, um, and because of that, mine could continue. And I carry that with me every single day. Um, so that's the story of how I got my second life. And I recently turned 3. Um, anyway, I'm going to start posting more videos about alcohol addiction, liver disease, liver failure, and transplant and recovery. So be sure to subscribe. And I really appreciate you watching. I hope you're doing well. Thank you. Bye bye.